All right, let's see what Jesus has to say about that.
We're going to go in order of pictures. Here we are. Chantal, you ready to read?
Oh,
That's so good.
my morning voice.
Yeah, good morning voice, yes. Not your spiritual voice, it's too soft.
The call to who you are.
Do we have a page number?
I have 251.
Thank you.
Is that in your book?
Ronnie Brown has joined the meeting.
I have 245. All right, I'll look around that area.
Look in the settings, Kevin. That's a weird little thing that they just added on. That
Yeah, but that only happened on Thursday as well, but it doesn't happen in the 7 o'clock. It seems like the second meeting for the day it happens. I don't know what it is. I'm glad it doesn't happen in the lessons though for me. Okay, Chantal.
Yeah. Nice to see you, Donnie and Joy.
Nice to see you too. In the dark.
The call to
go for it.
Okay, let's do this.
Let's do it.
The call to who you are. Creation is not an aspect of this world alone. Creation is an aspect of the whole, the all of all, the Alpha and the Omega, eternity and infinity. It is not only life as you know it now, but life in all its aspects. It is life beyond death, as well as life before birth and life during your time here. It is all one because it's all from the same source. You are not only part of creation, but as has been said many times, a creator, and as such, a continuing act of creation. This does not mean that creation is acted out upon. This does not mean that creation is acted out upon you, but that you are acted out upon creation. The idea of creation as something static would be completely contrary to the meaning of creation. Yet you continue to think you stand apart from it and affect it not. This is consistent to the thinking that would tell you that you are at the mercy of fate. Fate and creation are hardly the same thing. You are at the mercy only of your own ego and only until you willingly let it go. Who's next? Go.
You finished, Chantal.
Yeah.
Okay, on next. A Course in Miracles and A Course of Love work hand in hand because the change of thinking taught within A Course in Miracles was a change of thinking about yourself. It attempted to dislodge the ego mind that has provided you with an identity that you think you are, that you but think you are. A Course of Love then followed in order to reveal to you who you truly are. While you continue to act within the world as you think you are, rather than as who you are, you have not integrated these two pieces of learning. This is the stage of learning that you are at and what this treatise addresses. This treatise is attempting to show you how to live as who you are, how to act within the world as the new self you have identified. Just like learning how to swim is a new way of
Ian has joined the meeting.
new way of movement. Just as moving through water is a way of movement quite inconsistent with that of moving on land, so too is a new way of acting out or expressing who you are quite inconsistent with the way in which you have formerly acted out or expressed who you are. This is, of course, because you formerly acted out of a set of conditions that corresponded to who you think you are rather than
Andy has joined the meeting.
who you truly are. Yes. And, Andrew, are you reading today?
Yeah. You will almost literally continue to bump in to who you think you are as you complete the process of unlearning. It might be best explained by continuing with this swimming metaphor. If acting in the world as who you truly are is like swimming, bumping into who you think you are could be likened to trying to move within water as you would on land. Why, when moving freely through the water, would you suddenly try to move as if on land? The explanation could be as simple as forgetting where you are, or as complex as a sudden panic or fear brought on by any number of factors. Either way, the result would always be the same: a sudden change from ease of movement to struggle, from going with the flow to resistance. A first step, then, in learning to recognize when you are acting upon notions of who you think you are rather than on who you truly are is the appearance of struggle or resistance. As a swimmer quickly learns, the only way to return to ease of movement is a cease to struggle or resist. The ability to let go of struggling is a learned ability for the swimmer and is a learned ability for you now as you journey back to your real self. It requires remembrance, trust, and a wholehearted approach that allows the body, mind, and heart to act in unison. This wholehearted approach is the condition from which unity is recognized. The water is not taken for granted, but always recognized as the condition of the swimmer's environment. You are no longer confined to the conditions of separation, my dear brothers and sisters. And this is what it is time for you to learn. Thanks.
Cole, you're next when you're ready.
This applies directly to your reaction to all that occurs within your life. Let us look now at your reactions to the idea put forth earlier of having a calling. Despite whatever way you currently have of identifying calling as it relates to you, there are few among you who have not reacted to this idea of calling with two sets of feelings and thoughts. One set of thoughts and feelings contain all that one might attribute to the glad acceptance of a gift of a high value, or in other
Donnie Brown has left the meeting.
Oh, this is crazy. Sorry guys about that. We don't know what's causing this. This is like a new setting of some kind. Kevin, if you go to settings, there is this section called accessibility. And have a look if you just could click a few things off there that creating this. Because I try to click it off and it's still going. So
Where's the settings? Where's that?
if you go to settings, do you know where the settings are?
No.
Or maybe we'll do this afterwards.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, we just have to deal with this later. I'll go back. One set of thoughts and feelings contain all that one might attribute to the glad acceptance of a gift of high value, or in other words, a treasure. One set of thoughts and feelings contain all that one might attribute to the somewhat
Erroneous? No, what's that word?
Onerous, Cole.
onerous onset of yet another responsibility, another obligation. One set of thoughts recognizes that something has been given. The other set of recognizes that something has been asked. The wholehearted response is one that recognizes that giving and receiving are the same in truth. Next. Who's next?
Kim?
While two sets of thoughts and feelings exist, the only way to come to peace with them is through an acceptance of ambiguity. While an acceptance of ambiguity might seem preferable to conflict, an acceptance of ambiguity is a rejection of your power. What is required to claim your power is the willingness to move through the conflict of two opposing sets of thoughts and feelings to the place of unity. Thus, a first step in our work with regard to calling is recognizing the dualistic nature of your thoughts and feelings. A second step is willingness to move past both ambiguity and conflict to unison. That's mine to Paris.
Okay. Robin, are you reading today?
This requires an examination of your specific notions concerning calling as you apply them to yourself. Whether you feel that you have a specific calling, no calling, or many callings matters not at this juncture. What matters is that you think it does. You think it matters because you compare and judge rather than accept. You think it matters because you compare and judge rather than accept. You who have so recently felt the peace of true acceptance are not asked to leave that peace to go in
PT has
search.
joined the meeting.
You who have so recently felt the peace of true acceptance are not asked to leave that peace to go in search of calling, but are rather asked to listen from within that peace to what you feel called to do. This is not about the past and all those things that at one time or another you thought would bring you fulfillment. This is about recognizing who you are now. This is not a quick fix that calls you to what might have been and tells you that if you had but acted earlier, you would have had the life you've dreamed of, and maybe it's not too late. This is not about examining where the various calls you responded to previously have led you. All these notions are concerned with who you have thought yourself to be. not with who you are. They do not recognize the difference between thinking and knowing.
Ruben, you're next.
Being who you are is what you are called to do. You are here asked to live a life as seamless as that of the birds of the air. You are asked to live a life where there is no division between who you are and what you do. This place of no division is the place of unity. Now, you may feel as if this treatise has led around in a circle, bringing you back only to contemplate again the acceptance of where you are now. However, to accept where you are is not the same as accepting who you are. Accepting where you are as if it is a static place at which you have arrived is not the goal that has been set. Accepting who you are includes acceptance of creation. The acceptance of creation is the acceptance of change and growth. But neither of these are concepts that you understand truly. Change is not negative, and growth does not imply lack. I'm complete.
Thanks, Ruben. Alison, you're next on the list.
Okay. You must be beginning to see that your thought processes, the very thought processes that tell you hour by hour and minute by minute how to perceive of and live in your world, are still often based on old concepts. This does not mean that you have not changed, nor that you are in need of accomplishment rather than the already accomplished. What this means is that you are still in need of unlearning, of undoing old patterns of thought. This is atonement, and it is continuous and ongoing until it is no longer needed. Anything continuous and ongoing is part of creation. Thus, the very act of undoing old patterns is an act of creation. As the old is undone, a vacuum is not created, the new is created. You are in the process of unmaking what you have made. The old structure is coming down so that the new what might be likened to a building with no frame can rise. That's me.
Okay. Michelle, are you reading today?
Yes, you. This process too is union, for it is giving and receiving as one, although you recognize it not as such. It is not a process of waiting until one thing is accomplished for another to begin. What is happening now is happening in unison. As the old goes, the new arrives. There is no time lapse in this learning, and so it is a condition of miracle readiness. The old is replaced by the new simultaneously. This is why you do not have to wait to hear your calling, even though some of you may feel as if you are in a time of waiting for you to hear no such call. The call is to be who you are. And this is happening at lightning speed, a speed that cannot be measured because of its simultaneous nature. As was said within A Course of Love, time is but a measurement of the time it takes for learning to occur. As this notion of time dissolves, the state of miracle readiness becomes your natural state.
You might as well finish it off, Michelle.
While this adjustment of your thinking may not seem to be the miracle that it truly is, as your awareness of it grows, it is going to raise it to a level you will come to think of as an ability. As your old way of responding to life causes you to struggle or resist, and the new way of thinking replaces that old pattern with a new pattern of response, you will begin to see that each new response is the answer to a call that your heart alone can hear. As I have said, your heart has now become your eyes and ears. Your heart hears only one call, one voice, the language of one source, that of unity.
Oh, it's beautiful. Hmm. So let's move on to the next one. You guys are ready?
Yeah. All right. Annie, are you reading today?
Sure.
Thanks, Annie.
The source of your call. In order for you to more fully understand the life that this course calls you to, we must also talk of another aspect of being called. But we have concluded that when you listen to your heart, you hear and are able to respond to the one call. This does not mean that this one call has but one request to make of you, as in a call to be a minister, nor that it will come in but one form, as in a call to action. We have talked heretofore about a calling you feel from within, as if you are listening to a new voice that would reveal your talents and desires to you. This type of calling comes as a light shown into the darkness and is revelatory in nature. Other calls will come as announcements, signs, or even as seeming demands. All call you to the present, where response is able to be given. All call you, quote unquote, back to who you are. Again, let me stress the present moment nature of being called. A call is, at its most basic level, a means of communication. If you are not listening, you will not hear the calls that are meant for you. If you are looking only for a specific type of call, you will miss many unlearning and learning opportunities. Thus, recognition of the different calls that may now be heard is necessary. The call that comes in the form of an... What's that?
Oh, sorry, I just thought that was the 2 paragraphs. That's right.
Oh, okay. We're just reading 2. All right. I'm complete.
All right, then. Dennis, are you there?
I'm here. Where are we? 5-4?
5-3, I think.
5-3. Yeah.
5-3. Okay. The call that comes in the form of an announcement is the call that carries with it no ambiguity. The certainty of an announcement can alert you that it is time to act. This might be considered the highest form of call, the call from the already accomplished to the already accomplished. Such a call signals an end to learning from the lessons of the past and a beginning of learning from the new. This course itself is such a call, an announcement of your readiness for the new. This is the all-encompassing call, and it's not about specifics. Because it is not about specifics, you may find yourself still wondering what to do. Thus, you must be aware of the calls that assist you in knowing what to do. These calls you may think of as signs, like literal signposts along a roadway. They alert you to turn your attention in a particular direction. Calls that seem to come in the form of demands are often calls that come to you from within the teaching and learning ground of relationships. You may be literally called to account for certain attitudes or behaviors. This happened today. You may also be called upon to call others to account for their attitudes or behaviors.
Next person.
Anyone else?
Let's see. Carolyn, are you there today? Are you reading? Or Andy? Or Ian? Okay, we're back to Chantel. She's disappeared. Chantel, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which one are we at?
5, 6.
Thank you.
Andy's there.
He's there. Okay. Andy, reading today?
I can't read, sorry. I've just got the child and I'm in the
That's
car.
okay. No worries.
Bless you guys. Thanks.
Then these last two calls, the call that appears in the form of a sign and the call that comes in the form of a demand, are about specifics in a way that the call that comes as an announcement is not. They represent the remnants of learning from the past, the final breaking of old patterns. They may seem to signal difficult times, but they are times that must be gotten through and lessons that need to be allowed to pass through you until you have fully integrated the truth that giving and receiving are one. You will not fully believe that needs are not legs until you have fully integrated the truth that giving and receiving are one. You will not realize that dependency is a matter of the interdependency of all that exists in relationship. Thus, all the calls that come to you in the form of signs or demands will be calls that assist you in integrating this learning and making it one with who you are. These lessons will bring who you are into focus within your mind through the vehicle of your heart.
Beautiful. Love that. Through the vehicle of your heart. Who is next, Kevin?
Me, but I'd like to skip. Andrew, you ready to read again?
Yep.
Thanks.
The belief, accomplishment. The source of what we have been speaking of as calling is your heart.
Yay.
It is what alerts you to the treasures that lie within. There is no time in the place we are calling within, and your heart knows not of time, even while it adheres to the rules of time you would place upon yourself. Cease adhering to the rules of time and see how much more the language of your heart becomes known to you.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, huh?
I speak here not of the rules of time that govern your days and years, but the rules of time that you believe govern your days and years, and that you thus allow to govern your thinking. If time is but a measure of learning, and if your learning is now at the stage at which it occurs in unison with unlearning, then the end of time as you know it is close at hand.
Mm-hmm.
If you can begin now to think without the barriers of time you but place upon your thinking, you will advance this process and more quickly bring about the end of the pattern of learning that you refer to as time. The end of the pattern of learning that you refer to as time is the beginning of the time of unity.
God, so beautiful. Oh, it's incredible, isn't it? When the heart begins to reveal itself, because we have images of heart. That's not what heart is. The heart needs to be revealed to us. And it comes way more as a feeling thing. That's the thing. We feel the heart, it's not an image. It comes. It comes like that's the second coming. The heart comes in and it just doesn't function like the mind does it? Oh my God. And I love how this course works. Like, in those poses, it's almost like then it begins to dawn. Get that too? Like we have this little break and then suddenly something goes. If the mind is trained enough to step back and let the heart lead the way. Oh, it's so delicious. Yeah. Who's next, Kev?
You're next, Cole.
Am I next? This return to unity is reliant upon the changes in your beliefs that this course has brought about. Let us review these beliefs and how they relate to your concept of time. Only you can be accomplished, and your accomplishment is already complete. Da-da-da! Let's do it. Say, only I can be accomplished.
Only I can be accomplished.
Only I can be accomplished.
That's it. Just say that. It's like only I can be accomplished. Like seeing all these awake people somewhere out there, that's nice, but it doesn't really you know, it doesn't really ignite your ignition, you know? Only you can be accomplished. Only I can be accomplished. Because then you see the truth from within, not from without. Even so, when you see it from within, it's everywhere, written everywhere. But it comes from you. It doesn't come from projection of someone else. So that's the thing. Only I can be accomplished.
Ian to everyone, and your accomplishment is already complete. Page 245.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
So the chats get read out as well.
I know this is
Oh my gosh, this
some
is
kind of
crazy.
setting we have to figure out how to turn off. This is a new thing which we haven't had before. So
Well, I think you can do it.
yeah, I'm sure we
I've
can
got to
do
find
it.
it.
We just have to look into. We'll look into it with Kevin.
Alison T to everyone. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, we can have some fun with this.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's really good. Hang on a second.
Oh, what's it got here?
All to everyone. Only you can be accomplished, and your accomplishment is already complete.
Oh, Jesus.
I wonder what it does with private person. Send someone a personal message to see if it comes up.
Personal. No, it's private.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Anyway, let's come back to the exquisite theme of returning to heart. Mm. All right, who is next?
Some of these paragraphs are really short. Kim, you're next.
Okay.
But I reckon you should do more than two.
I know. I'm just a bit snotty today, so I'm like a bit like unslept and not accomplished. While I'm accomplished, I'm not accomplished.
What does this mean in regards to time? You might think of being accomplished as all of your work being done. If there is no work to be done, nothing for you to do, for what do you need time? Have you ever conceived of accomplishing anything without taking into account the time that it will take? Relate this question to our discussion of treasure, and you will understand what it is of which I speak. You believe that your treasures only become accomplished abilities within time. You believe that your treasures only become part of your identity when you have passed beyond the time it takes for those treasures to become abilities. Thus, all that you might wish to accomplish stands separate from you and beyond you in time. That your mind projects what you desire to accomplish onto an unknown future time is what would seem to keep you from accomplishment. I say that it is what would seem to, purposefully. If you are already accomplished, this trick of your mind has not worked.
Mhm.
And yet, if you believe that this trick of your mind has worked, you act as if you are being kept from accomplishment by time. And this seems quite real to you. This seems quite real to you because of what you believe.
So this is so beautifully demonstrated. If you look into your desire, you know, every time we desire something and then we go like, oh, this is gonna take a while, and we set it up that way. Yeah. It's like one day I'm gonna be this, or one day I'll have this, right?
One day I'm going to awake.
Yeah. And now you put it in the future, and guess what you do tomorrow? You still put it in the future.
Yes.
So if you do it this way, and this is really a lot to do with the feelings being deadened by the attack thoughts. It's like if you attack yourself daily, you know, like, oh God, I've done this, oh God, I've done that. So you go step, step, step. So the feeling self is dead. So the feeling self cannot create for you now, because cause and effect never separate. So you have a thought, and there should be a response and a feeling. These responses, if they're dead, they're dysfunctional. So we project it in the future and we wait. Guess what? When you put something in the future, what happens? Let's say you want a house. I want to have a house like this and that. Guess what? The minute you have that house, you walk in and you go, shit, I have to furnish it, I have to insure it, I have to do this, I have to do that. And there is not a moment, because now you're not going like, oh, I achieved something. Oh my God, I feel so good. Now you begin to worry about it. So the only way to do is reawaken this feeling self of you. So you get it now. So think of a desire. Just find a desire you have. What do you desire? Get something simple, real simple thing. Hey, what do you desire? Don't say what it is. Right? Just put your hand up and you have it. Yeah. And then how would that make you feel if you already had that? What would the feeling? Yes, exactly. See, you immediately begin to smile, and now you full feeling, you're having a feel of it. Just allow that feeling more, which is what we normally don't do. Allow that feeling more. There you go. It will smile you. It will just begin to fulfill you now. You might say, well, but I don't have it. Well, it doesn't matter, because when you get it, you will not feel it. You will not necessarily feel it because you'll be so caught up into what's next that you always miss the now experience. Same with awakening. It happens somehow. Like you have an awakening and then you start thinking and then you just screw it again. So yeah, now feel it more and allow yourself to feel it more than you normally allow yourself feel things. See, we're reawakening the will. We're reawakening the feeling state. Without it, all the spiritual is just junk mail. It's got to be experience. Seek only experience. Do not let theology screw with your mind. It's meaningless. It's beautiful words on a fridge. Right? Now feel that even more. And just notice how quickly you stop feeling and move on into the mind, right? And I know I'm disrupting it. But let's just come back to it again, just for a sec. Are you guys good with this? I don't want to interfere too much, but this is such a profound thing. So think of something else, but this time we're going to really rip into it. You guys happy to try? Cool, let's do it. So just think of another desire, something simple. Don't ask for like something real simple, like, oh, just want to wake up happy or whatever, you know. Once you have it, you go like, well, what would that make you feel like if you already had it now? So now you have it. What's the feeling? You got to get the feeling, and you got to step back and let the feeling show you what it feels like again. Yeah. And now, this is the key. Step back and let that feeling lead the way. Allow it more to say yes. And allow it even more. Yes. And allow it. And feel it in your feet, in your legs. Make sure it's fully experienced. Fulfillment, it's full feel of whatever, but a full feel, not just a partial, not just a temporary. Sound like, oh yeah, just feel it and then give it. Say, to everyone I offer this. And flood the whole world with it. Just flood everything, the whole existence with that one single feeling that goes into a full feel of itself. You're not only doing this, but now you're actually impregnating the will with your desire. And she will birth it. Yeah. Feel it more and more. Let's have a look. What would be the maximum you can handle of allowing that? Mm-hmm. Can you allow it more than you ever have? Say yes. If you say yes, the will just goes, okay, I'll manifest that for you. And allow it more. Exactly. And allow it more. And then like way more. And then way more than that. And it comes to a point where you just almost like, oh my God, I was just too saturated. You know why? Because we're not used to these amazing experiences we could be sharing by giving them, by allowing the response to fully manifest ourselves, like as the fully accomplished. You see?
Making me want to cry.
Yeah, beautiful, sweetheart. Exactly. Like it connects, because that feeling when it comes, it does awaken your heart. It does birth the Christ in you. You know, she's the great mother of everything. She's the way of Mary. It's the internal, that birth. She's the birther of any idea. But she's been dead. And when she returns, it does bring tears and it does bring this exquisite connection to the self. So you're at one with your whole self. There is no discussion in that. It's just pure experience. Seek only that. Jesus says in the Course in Miracles, says, seek only the experience and do not let theology delay you. It's a delaying maneuver, just like thinking about something that is going to be happening in the future. Yeah. I know it's a bit mindy and everything, but it's just so powerful.
Mm.
And it
It was so
requires, yeah.
it was so beautiful, all of the section.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. So you can try that one. That could be fun. It's like, so only I can be accomplished. So say I just, what do you want to, what's your desire? It's just, I want to be the accomplished. And if you were the accomplished, how would that make you feel? Oh, Because it is already in you. Except if you don't give it, you choke on it. And then you complain, you know. But if you give it, everyone, I offer this. Yeah. All expressions of love are maximal, but only to a point to which we allow ourselves to feel them and to give them. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Now let's read the next bit. Who is reading?
Me.
Go. This is so good.
Accomplishment is not an end point, but a given.
Yeah.
It is not an outcome, but a certainty. It says, I am, rather than I will be.
Say that again.
It says, I am, rather than I will be.
Yes.
I will be is a statement that presumes a future in which you will become other than who you are in the present. Oh dear.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, right?
Sorry?
I was just saying that's amazing.
It
Yes.
is.
Unity exists only in the here and now of the present. There is no will be in unity.
Yep.
There is only what is. Thus, the limits you would place on the concept of something being what it is must be part of this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So would someone else like to read?
Yeah, Ruben, you're next, Ruben.
You say Ruben or Robin?
Ruben.
Your mind will tell you that a chair is a chair and regard it as a fact. Through the learning you have done since your birth, you have come to recognize a chair as having certain properties, the most essential of which is that it is a structure on which to sit. The exercises of A Course in Miracles began with asking you to call into question these beliefs and known, observable facts. You may have regarded these exercises as silly, or you may have thought of the lessons of physics and felt as if you understood these exercises on an intellectual level. But what these exercises have prepared you for is an acceptance of the ongoing change that is creation. An acceptance that something can be what it is. A known fact, an object with an identity, but also part of the ongoing nature of creation. Could this be true of a chair and not be true of you? It is your belief that change and growth are indicative of all that can be accomplished, rather than of what is already accomplished. that needs adjustment now.
Mm.
I repeat, it is your belief that change and growth are indicative of all that can be accomplished rather than of what is already accomplished that needs adjustment now. As the tree exists fully accomplished within its seed, and yet grows and changes, you exist fully accomplished within the seed, that is the Christ in you, even while you continue to grow and change. Physical form and action of all kinds are but expressions of what already exists within the seed of the already accomplished. I repeat, physical form and action of all kinds are but expressions of what already exists within the seed of the already accomplished. I'm complete. Thank you.
Alison, you're next when you're ready.
The recognition that you are already accomplished is a condition of your recognition of the state of unity. It is a recognition that you exist in unity outside of the pattern of time. Miracles create an out-of-pattern time interval. Thus, living in a state of miracle readiness is the creation of a new reality outside of the pattern of ordinary time. Although this state exists as the already accomplished, it is up to you to create it for yourself.
Mm.
You must create it for yourself only because you believe you replaced what was already accomplished with what you made. This is what is happening as you unlearn and learn in unison. You are creating the state of unity as a new reality for yourself, even though it is actually a return to what has always been. You are changing the world you perceive by perceiving a new world. You are changing from who you have thought yourself to be to who you are. As I have already said, that your heart must exist where you think you are, you can begin to see that this change in thinking will release your heart, returning it to its natural realm. Thus does mind and heart join in unity, in the present, in the here and now, so that you exist even within form as the only Son of God, the Christ, the Word made flesh. Remember that the phrase, the Son of God, and the name Christ, but represent the original creation and are not to be mistaken for heavenly deities separate from you. The Christ is yourself as you were created and remain. the Christ is the accomplished self.
Mm. So beautiful.
You know, what I'm seeing as I go through this book, and this is the second time I've gone through this, as you know, Cole, is I suppose what's going on in me is less resistance to these ideas, which I know to be true. There's just less resistance in me. There's still resistance, but there's less.
Yeah.
It keeps coming up, but in smaller bites.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can allow yourself to resist.
Why would you want to resist?
Well, that's the thing, because when you allow yourself to resist, you will see the enormity of resistance. If you're trying to get rid of it, you don't see how big it is. So just allow yourself to resist, and you'll go like, wow, there's a lot of resistance. I mean, you know, I came to a point where it's like, I am nothing but a resistor. You know, like that's what I am. I'm like all the resistance there is. But when you get to see it, then you can undo it. You know, like Jesus says, look at your illusions because by not looking, they stay protected. So it's like, allow yourself to see how much resistance there is. You might be surprised.
Yeah, it's like a huge resistance to this accomplishment that we already are. Like, you know, it's nuts.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Because the experience is so intense, you know, you suddenly become vibrating on a different speed of light. And your body's just not used to it. You just go like, wow. So we drown it, we push it down, we resist it. Alison, did that make sense?
Well, kind of, but I think for me,
I can
what's
see you
going on
resisting that.
is, not look. What's going on for me is that I'm noticing more and more when I'm resisting and seeing how it doesn't serve me and turning around.
Yes.
Just when I feel the resistance and getting into feeling, you know, maybe irritated or shitty or whatever, you know, just old patterns.
Yes.
And realizing, hey, that doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve any purpose of what I want, because what I want is the truth. What I want is to feel my heart. What I want is to have my life flow and to feel love and forgiveness, you know, I mean, the whole thing. And this doesn't serve, like, it's more and more, but sometimes I get caught in the resistance and take it seriously. But afterwards, it's like, well, that was a waste of time.
Yeah, yeah.
So more and more it's working.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing the common sense and truth in it, in the teaching.
Yeah. Just like workbook of A Course in Miracles, it does you despite you. You're applying it and you think you know what you're doing, but you actually don't. If anyone thinks that they understand what the Course in Miracles does, I reckon they're delusional. We have no idea why is he saying what he's saying. But if we apply it, he said, you know, you don't have to understand this, you don't have to even believe it. You can resist it. Doesn't matter, it will not affect the efficacy, right? So the Course, if it wasn't interpreted, which is the worst thing that you can do with it, you know, you take a sentence and you think you can label your meaning on it. You can't. If you stop doing that, the sentence will become flesh. You'll be having an experience what it means. And it's the experience that will take you to the right place. It's not what you then labeled that sentence to be. You know how I say, like, sentence is two things. It's either a collaboration of words or it's a life sentence. Any sentence you take becomes a prison. Can even be a holy sentence, becomes a prison because now you think, oh, I've got this. Yeah. And it will have an effect on you. Yeah. It will have effect on you for as long as you believe that sentence. What I find a Course in Miracles does to me is like when we read something, it empties my mind completely. It dislodges any structure. Anything I made suddenly go like, oh shit, I made this shit up again. And in that moment, I can see it. So I dislodge it. I go like, oh God, done it again, did again. Remember how dear one used to teach, did again? That's the one. And so, yeah, it just becomes, it's an undoer. Yeah. Beautiful, guys. Wow. 3 chapters. Awesome.
Calling the saying of Jesus' voice, something like that, in that video that you say. It is a part where it say, what you give is what you receive.
Yeah.
And the more you give, the more you receive. And I ask myself, what am I giving? Am I giving resistance? That's the reason that I'm receiving more resistance, because that's what I'm giving.
Yes.
Okay, give love. And that's what I receive.
Mm.
You stop it right. Just.
Mm. Well, it's so simple at the end. You know, we changed the word love to God, and now we have theologies. But if you just return back to love, then you feel love. Do you allow yourself to feel love right now? Say yes. It's there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can never lose it. Can you feel it more? Can you allow it more? To say yes. And there it is, you know? Next minute, you're getting flooded by love. End of the whole teaching. Now continue being flooded by love. And then say something like, Alison, all my love I offer you.
Alison, all my love I offer you.
See, that's a giving. And as you do, you what? You're receiving, you're feeling it, right? And so even more love I offer you.
Even more love I offer you.
That's it. And even more love I offer you.
And even more love I offer you.
And then more than that. Yeah. And then it's almost like you turn it on and it goes. It's like one of those switches you can only turn it off, but you can't turn it off. You let it flow. Let it flow. More you give, more you have. But more you have, more you can give. Yeah.
Yes, only I can be accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. Mm. And it's like that simple. Like you're either giving love or not. This is nothing else going on. It didn't say beach and you shall receive, right? It said give and you shall receive. And whatever you're giving, you're receiving. And if you want to argue with it, you will receive an argument. But yep, you have it now. It's good. You just gave it. So what do you want to have? having a really wicked thought. Oh, Jesus. Beautiful, huh?
And I have a question.
You're breaking up a bit.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have resistance, and this resistance, you had a resistance for a long time, and it kind of weakens your desire.
Yes.
But there is, you kind of still have the desire, but resistance weakened the desire.
What to do now?
What to do now?
Feel the resistance. Give the resistance away, because you're trying to hide it by not giving it. It's like I'm not gonna, but give me all your resistance. Are you willing to give me all the resistance?
I'll try my best.
Just do it.
See.
Don't try.
Okay,
Trying is
well,
dying. Just give it. Just give it, because it's either yes or no. And the minute you give it, like you have a resistance to give the resistance away.
yeah.
So give it anyway.
Okay, I'm going.
Because we've got this programming that because we called it negative or no good, then now we're eating from a tree of good and evil. So, and then we said, I give my good side, but I don't give my bad side of me. But what about you give me your bad side? Because that's I want ultimately.
Oh my God. He's
Yeah.
such a he's such a like a what do they call it? Bodhisattva.
Yeah. Yeah. But there you go. You see, like when you're willing to hide nothing, when you're willing to hide what you think is dark, you made it dark. It's not dark to me. Your resistance is delicious. I know it makes no sense to the mind, but the actual, when you do it, when you actually feelingly do it, it's a different language altogether.
Yeah,
Mind
it makes
will not
sense.
understand it, but when you actually do it, it's like, okay, fuck this, I'll give it to you.
I'm not yeah. It makes sense to me now, actually. So
Yes, that's it.
but you have to have someone who's willing to receive it, right? Or you just
No,
can
you
give it
don't. No, you don't. You just need to give it. And if there's
okay.
no one else to receive it, try God. Yeah,
He will.
Jesus. Hey, Jesus, help me with this. So you're giving all your stuff to Jesus. But it's not that Jesus is necessary. It's the fact that maybe with Jesus, you will give it. And giving it will dispel it in you. You will just disperse it rather than hold it tight in you and grow the cancer of it. You know what I mean? That's it. It's as simple as that. All my love
Thank
I
you.
offer you. All my
That's
love I
beautiful.
offer you, right? It's not even for you.
Yeah, but
As I give it, I feel blessed.
yeah.
But there is a place when we begin to give at the same time, which is crazy then. That's nuts. That's when we enter into this union. And then union will teach us the rest. Like your mind cannot even utter a word by then. Anyway, darling, before I get too caught up in this, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you guys for going.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. So beautiful. Love, love,
Love,
love. Give only
love,
love.
love.
Give only love, for that is what you are. Dun, dun, dun. Teach me love is give only love, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys.
All right, guys. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
You want to stay on for a sec?
Yeah, okay.